Hello friends, welcome to the channel. Bob here, and I wasn't going to do a video today, but I just thought I kind of wanted to do a little update video, so I thought I would do that. I'm not quite sure how to phrase it without getting my video, someone casting Disintegrate on my video, but I have my first vac jab, should we call it? Yeah, vac jab. There you go. That's got to get past the mental Google censors, I would imagine. Yeah, I had the first thing on Saturday. And, you know, if you're a long-term viewer of the channel, you know I've kind of last sort of 7 years or so I've had some long-term health issues. So I generally feel like I've got the flu pretty much all the time. But I feel a bit more like it today. This is kind of like the second day, so I've had a bit of a headache as well and whatnot. So I don't know if it's just you know, like they say there's a few side effects from the jab. Yeah, so I kind of feel like I'm talking in slow motion today. So it's just going to be a casual update. My characters are level 34. Really been storming through the leveling. And I have to thank my leveling partner for the last week, Ralos, who's been dragging me along and helped with that. And all the people that buff at the Dark Bank as well, in the Plane of Knowledge. All that stuff is amazing and really helps new players. You know, one of the things I kind of talk about, stuff I can talk about as I go briefly. But one of the things I was going to say, let's just head back here because I need to get my alacrity buff. And one of the things I was going to say is that this is very much a server where you can kind of tailor the experience you want. When I first joined here, I thought it was going to be a more of a non-classic experience, but I know, you know, many people think Lootling is not classic, blah blah blah, and fine. I mean, I kind of agree with that to a certain extent. I haven't really got involved in too much Lootling stuff since I've been here, although I've visited a couple of zones. Yeah, but you can really tailor the experience to how you want, really. I mean, on P99, you know, you're tied to more of a particular experience, a more kind of rigid one, more classic one, which is fine. You know, that's what we love. We love that as well, or I do. I love that as well. You know, but you can also, like here, you can kind of tailor your experience more. So if you've played on P99 and you just found things, you know, generally a bit too hardcore. If you want, this server gives you a more gentle introduction because the buffs make leveling quicker and safer. You know, guilds are always on the lookout for new players, so you know it won't be very long. I can't imagine before you'll be talking to someone in a guild and they'll help you out with some kit and some plat to get going and that kind of stuff. Yeah, so it's very much a server where I think you can tailor your experience more. You can kind of make it more hardcore or not as you want, whereas on P99, generally it's going to be, you know, hardcore, which is, that's a good thing. I don't know why, I kind of always feel like I have to kind of like, yeah, state that you're not saying you dislike something, because otherwise, you know, social media or even YouTube is at that point where, oh, you don't like P99 anymore, you know. That's not the case at all. But this just seems like if you're looking for a gentler experience, you can find that here. Or if you're looking for a more hardcore experience with Luklin, you can also find that here. You just don't get buffed, you know, don't accept stuff, and just do things at your own pace. Where's my next pull? I might also do this one. These bloody knights. I'm afraid my warder takes the harm touch on the chin. Very much like a ranger in that sense, I think. Oh, okay. Maybe he resisted it there. Is it resistible? I'm actually not sure. But anyway, let's just slow it a bit. Some of them go down so quickly it's not really worth slowing, but it makes me feel like I'm doing something on my other characters a bit. I probably need to buff again in a minute, but I won't worry about that for now while the video is going. Let's just keep with the action. Yeah, so you know, tailoring it to how you want. You know, when I've played on P99 for so much, I've done this stuff, this content so much. You know, I was quite happy to get the buffs, and I've enjoyed my my leveling time with my leveling partner Ralos. It's been great, and he's dragged me around and really helped me to level and stuff. It's weird, like I could talk a bit about kind of the grouping thing, and I certainly wouldn't want anyone P99 to take it the wrong way, because it's certainly not meant in that way. But I've kind of found that I've grouped more on P99. I've grouped more on here in the last week than I probably have on P99 in the whole in the whole of my time on P99, which must be like 8 or 9 years now. I honestly can't remember. It's coming up for that sort of time. And there's a number of reasons for that, I think. I mean, I think when people, like when you guys kind of say, look, I'd like to Joe with you or whatever on P99, there are so many factors that get in the way, not just for anyone really grouping. You know, are you on I play off peak where there are a lot less people playing, so are you on at the same time? Then you've got to overcome, are you the same level, and all those other general issues that people will have from a grouping point of view. But the other thing I think as well is, and you don't really know this until you start kind of talking to people in a group, but it's about finding, like for me, it's about finding someone who, or people who kind of play the game in the right mindset, have got the same kind of outlook, I guess, on how to play the game. Yeah, I think that's probably, once you overcome the more common factors of not grouping, that's probably the next biggest thing. And I know that, like, many of you over the years have said to me that the one reason you stop grouping or you don't group is that your time is precious and you just don't want it interfered with by someone else. And you don't know until you do it. Well, we've all had experience of bad groups, even me who doesn't group that much. But it's kind of pushing yourself, I guess, out of that kind of routine. You don't know the experience is going to be bad, and I'm the biggest person. I'm the most guilty of this. You don't know if the experience is going to be bad until you push yourself outside of your routine. Maybe you'll duo or group with someone and it'll be a great experience. But maybe previous experiences have just meant that you thought, well, I just don't want, I just don't want the hassle of that. My time's precious. I don't want it ruined. I don't want. You don't want it ruined by someone. You don't want the chance of it being ruined by someone. So we kind of stick in our routines, and I'm very much of that. And lots of things play into that. With all of us, like our personalities. Like for me, it's a personality thing. It's also like a long-term, like, sick thing. I mean, I'm kind of on the spectrum a bit in a lot of ways, particularly when it comes to like routine. Like if my routine kind of breaks, it kind of says, you know what it's like if you're the same, you kind of get a bit of anxiety and stuff. And since I've been sick, routine has become even like more important. It's partly the routine thing, and it's partly not wanting your time to be, just the potential that it might be your game experience for however long you've got to play. And for some people, it's not very long because you're working and you've got kids and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, you don't want that routine. You don't want that experience ruined. That's perfectly understandable. I can understand that absolutely. So I think one of the most important things when you get past the common issues with what might prevent you from grouping with someone is finding someone who plays in the same way as you, or the thought processes are the same. And I mean, I'm quite happy to group with someone who is new and don't know what they're doing. As long as they're making the effort, or to group with someone who's just not particularly good for whatever reason. Maybe it's their timing input, inputting commands into the game, timing, that kind of stuff, make mistakes. And I think a lot of people are quite can be quite intolerant of that, and you do see that sort of thing in groups. A lot of people just don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, so they play on their own, and I kind of very much kind of fall into that. But I think the reason I've grouped on here so much is when you find someone who plays at the same time as you, who's been playing at the same time as you, they kind of seem to play the game in the same way. and they got the characters at the same level, you know, so it's kind of like a perfect storm. And I've kind of been, I've been enjoying my grouping, yeah, over the last week or so. But as I said, I don't want anyone on P99 to take it the wrong way. You know, it's something that would absolutely could happen on P99, but it's all those variables falling into place, you know. And I think also, what was that? What did I just cast? Oh, I was the wrong person. I'm a wrong buffer. Yeah, but also it's I'm kind of floundering now. Because I just had to run over for a hill. I kind of forgot what I was talking about. But yeah, it's about playing how you play the game. And as I said, my grouping has happened on here because it's like a perfect storm. You know, it's a someone who's playing at the same time, kind of plays the game in the same spirit, and all that kind of stuff. And that's as I was going to say before I started floundering. That's not to say that you know, they're not people on the P99. There are loads of them exactly the same. It's just finding that perfect storm of time, levels, and yeah, and play styles and the way that you look at things. And I think that's why I've grouped more here. It's just everything's kind of fallen into place, as it were. Also, I have to say that because of I think what I was going to say before is because of the whole routine thing, I do find it difficult taking myself out of the routine. So sometimes you need someone to push you out of that routine. And that's kind of exactly what's happened here. It's not that I don't want to make the effort to contact someone and group with them and that kind of thing, but when I log in, my brain just clicks into that kind of mode, you know, that routine mode. This is what I've been doing, so this is what I'm going to do today. Yeah, and having someone actively saying, right, let's do some stuff, you know, has been like it's always been really good. Yeah, really enjoyed it. Getting on to kind of game experience now, a couple of things that I found really interesting about boxing, actually, and it wasn't not the stuff that I was thinking would be the issue. The actual experience of boxing and having other characters around, I'm finding quite, yeah, just quite invigorating, actually. As I said, it kind of falls into the maybe feels like you're playing a bit of a single player RPG sometimes, and you're controlling a group, which I quite like. Casting spells, just amazing. Yeah, I like that. But the two downsides, one of them's not so much a downside because I kind of enjoyed it, but something that I thought about. Two things that might put people off. The first thing is just the whole macro kind of micromanaging type stuff of it, you know, having to flip between characters and muck around when you're moving them. I mean, actually moving these characters through Frontier Mountains to get to the dungeon was hilarious. I wish I'd have recorded it. It was so funny. At one point, levitation started to wear off, and there's a thing here where if your characters are following you and you go up high and you start running, like sometimes your characters, it's almost like they go to the maximum height of the zone. And at one point, I'm not sure, it seemed to wear off really early actually, but levitate started to wear off. Yeah, and I was panicked, and then I was kind of in panic mode then, like big time. So I flipped over to another character to try and bring them to ground. But then, because I was on auto run, like Olga, who's normally the one that everyone follows, he kept running. So he ended up somewhere, you know, Frontier Mountains is a bit of a nightmare. So he ended up in somewhere in the zone where I had no idea where he'd got to. The other two characters everyone was split up basically. Yeah, so it ended up a bit of a nightmare trying to get them all back to. And then one of them got attacked and stuff. You know, I didn't die thankfully, but it was a bit of a nightmare trying to get them all to the dungeon entrance and start the camp. Yeah, but it was funny at the same time. It was really, really good. But that kind of micromanagement, I think, will probably put people off. And I'm sure there's some of you will say, yeah, I tried boxing, I didn't like the micromanagement. There are some programs that you can get that help with that, of course, but I was going to set up this hotkey program, which I still haven't done it yet, but I'm not sure if I will, because I'm lucky enough to be able to see pretty much all of my character screens, because I've got kind of more than two. I've got 3 monitors actually, although only 2 of them are set up at the moment. But I can pretty much see everyone's screen, so I quite like that micromanagement thing of almost like playing a single player game where you control your three characters, but it's slightly more micromanagement because they're on different, they're on different screens essentially. So I quite like that, but that's something that I can certainly see putting people off. From a boxing point of view, maybe you've tried it and you felt the same way. The other thing I've kind of found is could put people off, and this is something that is actually I'm finding myself. It's kind of like a bit. I know it's a bit of a weird role-playing thing, and some people won't understand it, but I kind of feel like less connection to my characters. So because I've got 3 characters, I feel less connected with them, which is something that I do feel quite important at times. And I don't know why, but the screen has suddenly gone very dark. Oh, there you go. I'm quite sure why that was. Yeah, so you're just feeling less connection with my characters. Particularly like my Shaman and Enchanter, that are two. I think it's because it's 2 classes I played before. It's only that the Beast Lord is new to me. And that I'm really enjoying playing it. That maybe it hasn't had more of an impact than it may have done. But yeah, that's certainly something else to think about that I'm finding. Oh, geez. Okay, here we go. So I think what we would do here is, and your water pet can be a bloody nightmare. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mez the Bone Seer, because otherwise nightmare central. Yes, so obviously this is a good thing about having a number of characters. My enchanter can just go boom and keep it mezzed. Hopefully, although my pet control, or just the way the control of the pet sometimes is a bit rubbish. But yeah, I just cast a long. I've kind of got certain. It's funny, you have different spells loaded as when you're doing this. Let's just turn around a bit so I can see. Make sure that the Bone Seer stays mezzed, and I think the Dirt Racer won't run either, which is quite nice. Yeah, so I've got different spells loaded, so I just have normally I'd have Mesmerize loaded, but I've got more of a long-term one just to keep things locked down. It's quite interesting. I'm not sure if we slowed this dude. I'm not sure if we need to. But anyway, yeah, as I was saying, just I think they're two reasons that people might actually find that they're not keen on the whole boxing thing, more so than the fact that you feel like you're cheating or it's not in spirit with Classic, when actually it probably is more so, because I imagine that, there was much boxing going on back in the day. I mean, I've seen old screenshots of people with loads of CRT set up, running multiple characters and stuff. So yeah, I'm sure even with those internet connections, some people still would have wanted to try it. So it's interesting. But there's just a couple of things that came to me as I've been playing. They might be 2 things that are causing more of an issue, that may cause more of an issue for you if you're playing. And certainly the not feeling as attached to your character one is something that I'm kind of noticing. And I think what I might do in the future is, for any kind of alt side level, is maybe just use my other 2 characters purely as buffers, and then my character will run off and do some dungeony stuff on their own and that kind of thing. But I'm still really enjoying my time here. It's however you feel about boxing, like the community is amazing. A bit more eccentric actually, which I quite like as opposed to P99. I think I've said it before in a previous video. I think maybe it's attracting. I think what I said before was you've got people who are a bit more hardcore and a bit less tolerant. And I think this server, because it's a smaller server, there's more of a community vibe. I think it may weed those people out and they find that they move on. But I also find, which I quite really like, is as I said, that the community feels a bit more eccentric than P99, which is a nice thing. Here's my little trio anyway. I'm just going to do a bit of buff. Just going to stick on Alacrity. I mean, apart from the odd mez and stuff, I have to be honest. Like my Beast Lord does everything really. And I'm doing all this with my own buffs at the moment. I'm not using any big daddy buffs from from other people. So yeah, and like my experience has felt really classic. Like the leveling experience is the same if this is what you want to do. You kind of get 1 or 2, even in this zone with a Zem, you get 1 or 2% XP per kill. So yeah. Oops, I just knocked my mic there. I do apologise. So yeah, the experience is really good, and I think the community really makes it as well. I think that's it. I think I'm slowly getting slower. So I just wanted to give you a little update video on how things are going on. Yeah, on the old TACP, the Al Kapor project. It's going well, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying playing the Beast Law particularly, and I'm quite looking forward to doing stuff with him, the higher levels, doing some quests and stuff, and going around battering things with my pet. Looking forward to that. Anyway, guys, that's it. I hope this is a fairly coherent video from someone who's not feeling particularly coherent this morning. But anyway, thanks for watching.